Hi everyone, welcome back to the Cosplay Crunch. Each week we gather to talk all things cosplay and conventions, from personal experiences, useful tips and advice, horror stories and hot takes, and sometimes the latest news and drama. We have it all. I am your host, Zavage Cosplay, and this episode we are joined by a friend that is not too far from me in the good old Dallas, Texas. Please welcome Aeicos. Welcome, Anna. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me, Zach.
You sound so happy to be here.
I am actually. Okay, I want you to know we talked about this before. It's been a day and a half at work. It's been a week. It's been a time.
I know. Thank you so much for coming and joining me somewhat last minute. We're gonna have a good time. Hopefully we can forget about all of the woes and the trials and tribulations that have been burning us down this week. It's only Tuesday, but you know what will make it better? We have Charlie XCX tomorrow.
We do have Charlie tomorrow. She's gonna heal me. Her and Troye Sivan will. I'm going to probably cry at the concert. It's gonna be great.
I'm so excited. I keep saying, like, oh my god, what if Lorde popped out? Or I'm like, oh my god, what if Addison Rae popped out?
What if Billie Eilish gets off her tour and comes?
And just like, that's not happening in Dallas. Are you kidding me? I'm like, well, I can dream.
What happened?
I know, that would be so great. But anyway, I digress. Thank you so much for coming on. I have so much things to talk about with you. It's gonna be very easy breezy, very chill.
Okay.
And we're gonna start where we start this program quite often, and I want to learn about your cosplay beginnings. So how did you, baby cosplayer, start? When did you start cosplaying? How did you start cosplaying? Where did you start cosplaying? Run me through all of it.
Okay, I remember this pretty vividly. I was in high school. It was like, I want to say like my junior year of high school. And I got this was like about the time when Overwatch came out. And I was like super into Overwatch for like the longest time. Basically until the second game came out, I was like ride or die for that game. And so I loved the character designs. And so I was like, oh, I want to like dress up as them. I found out about cosplay like through online. I don't remember, like Instagram probably. And so I was like, I want to dress up as them. But I was like, this is really hard. Like, I can't just start with, because I really wanted to make Widowmaker. Like my old, like I like a lot of old photos of like my Widowmaker. And I was like, I can't make this. I don't know where to start. So I was like, I went to my grandma's house for Thanksgiving. This is like a multi-month process. I was like, teach me how to sew. And she's like, this is weird, but sure. And she taught me how to sew a pair of pajama pants, like by the book. And I was like, okay, I can use the sewing machine now. Because my mom had like an older sewing machine from like the 80s. It wasn't one of those like nicer older sewing machines. It was like kind of a crappy one. So I sewed on that. And then when I graduated high school, and like I started to make my Overwatch cosplay, and I very quickly realized I don't know what I'm doing. And it was turning out like shit. And so I like scrapped it. I like put it on the back burner, and I was like, okay, like what's something I can cosplay from? And then like I was also playing a lot of Rainbow Six Siege at that time. Like this was like when year 2 started Rainbow Six Siege. So yeah, that was 2016. And they have like all this tactical gear. And like the cool thing about the tactical gear is like you can order parts of it, and then you can also make other parts. So it was like a kit bash thing. And I ordered like all this cheap gear, and I was like, this doesn't fit because it's made for like 6'2" men.
Where did you order it from?
Like AliExpress and stuff like that. Like
okay.
It's like airsoft stuff. So like stuff people would use for airsoft at like kind of tactical gear. It's like
you were one of those.
Not like kinda.
You know what I'm talking about? The ones that like
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Come in full SWAT gear to the cosplay contest, and they're like,
no, like I didn't do the contests. I was just like I like met like some other people that would like dress up from the game. I'll have to send you the designs because it's like the men are very much like in that very SWAT gear, and then some of the women are also in SWAT gear. But then some of the other women, it's like they're in like leggings and like a bomber jacket, and it's very not SWAT.
Okay.
I don't know. It's like a weird hybrid, but I would like, I don't know. I wouldn't do it now. I would do like but it is weird.
I wouldn't.
It was weird.
You're like, I wouldn't do it now.
I still talk to all the friends I made from Rainbow Six Siege cosplay. Like I hang out with them at DragonCon. We do shots. We drink we shotgun beers. Like
Okay, Liv.
they're my ride or dies. I don't cosplay from the game anymore though.
Do
But
they?
sometimes like they still go to the events. I went to like one of the Rainbow Six Siege Invitational events in 2020, literally February 2020, weeks before COVID happened. I was in Montreal, freezing my ass off,
Oh,
meeting like all of these like international like friends I made
that's
on like
cool.
Twitter. It was really cool, yeah.
Wait, you went to a convention in Montreal?
It was like a esports tournament, but like all the cosplayers went for like
That's
that
so
do Rainbow Six
cool.
Siege. Yeah.
I've never been to a convention outside of the United States before.
I mean, it was more like a tournament, but like
Wow.
there is, like, you're still dressing up. I think it's kind of like a con, but
Yeah, you were dressed up in full thing. And
Mhm.
you were there. Okay. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked yet. So, okay,
anyways,
you
we get
started.
sidetracked. Sorry.
You started in 2016.
Yes.
Learned how to sew on your grandma's busted sewing machine, pajama pants.
Yeah.
Attempted to
Yes.
make Widowmaker. Flopped.
Yes, failed. Tried again that May 20. This is like when I graduated high school. May 2018. Tried again, failed. I found someone that was selling their old Widowmaker bodysuit, and her measurements were literally the same as mine. I'm like, perfect. I'm buying this. Like, I like had ordered like a 3D printed kit, and because I didn't have a 3D printer, obviously, I was in high school. I was like, I used like some money I had saved up from like I think graduation money to buy the 3D printed kit and put it all together, and I'm like, this is pretty good. I did make the wig.
That's shocking.
But
That like the thing you made the most was the wig.
yeah,
The
wig.
wig of all
The wig.
things.
And I did do a lot of like the tattoos. Like I like made arm socks and did the tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw like people were doing like a lot of Steven Universe cosplay, and that was like what I was getting a lot of like reference and like tutorials from.
Yes. Okay, for like changing your skin tone to like purple.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't want to paint my whole entire body blue.
Right. Very. That makes sense. So you was that round 2 Widowmaker? Then you revisited Widowmaker for a second time, and like that time was the time you actually finished it.
It actually got done. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
And then I like did some more upgrades, and I ended up like fully like finding like a nice 3D printed model online, doing like a final gun. Like I still have the gun. Let me like move my camera. It's like it's on the wall.
Oh,
the big
yeah,
blue
right there.
one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's she's kind of rough. But I'm keeping her because like that's the whole reason I basically got. I sold the cosplay for like nothing because I didn't want it in my house anymore. I sold like most of the cosplays I've made.
Wait, we're gonna talk about that later because I have a whole talking point about selling things. I want to go into that. But
okay.
So when did you start cosplaying? Are you from Texas?
No, I'm from Missouri.
I grew up. That.
Yeah, I grew up in like a Joplin, Missouri, which is like Southwest Missouri.
Joplin, Missouri.
Yeah, there's like a tornado. That's where everyone knows it from. Is it ringing a bell? Okay, well. It's like right on the border. It's like you're like 20 minutes from Oklahoma. You're like 20 minutes from Kansas.
Oh, all the luxury destinations of the United States of America.
I still have like a couple of friends from there, but I don't really talk to people from high school. Like I made my cosplay account page in high school, and like my cosplay account page was rough. Like I haven't really deleted any of my photos. You can go back and scroll through my entire page. I've like done highlights for every single cosplay I've made, which is kind of insane to think about. But I don't know. Like, senior year of high school was rough.
Were there conventions in Missouri?
Oh, there was one I went to. So it was really weird. The summer between junior and senior year high school, my mom and I went to a convention, but I did like a bunch of golf tournaments. So we went and played at a golf tournament, and it was like a match play tournament. So it's like if you get eliminated, you just go home. And so mom was like, I don't know how long you're gonna be here, but like when you're done, like we'll go to the con. Not your
mom saying, girl, like looks at you. She's driving her Suburban, looks over. Miss Thing driving in Joplin, Missouri, looks over her daughter and is like, well, I don't know how long you're gonna be here, but
we were like bumfuck middle of nowhere, Missouri. Like at this golf course was like next to a cornfield. Like I'm pretty sure I saw corn. But I got second at the tournament. So we were there until the last day. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We weren't really I wasn't expecting much. I'm like, yay, like we're here. I don't know. And then like I literally went. I had my costumes, but I had my costumes packed in the car with all my golf stuff. So remember we unpacked the car to like go to the because it was like 2 trips back to back. So it was like golf tournament and then turn around and we're gonna go drive to like it was like in Jeff City.
And where?
So we went to Jefferson City. Sorry,
Okay.
like lingo. And like that was like a really good con. Like I honestly it was a small con, but it was so well run. And like the rose tinted glasses may be on, but they had amazing cosplay guests. Like this con got
What was
like
it
Egg
called?
Sisters. I think it was called oh gosh. I have the badge.
Wait, I'm gonna look this up. Hold up. Jefferson City. Was it a Comic Con? I think it was a Comic Con.
Let me see.
Was it called Cosplaycon?
No.
Iron City Comic Con? That's Birmingham. Oh my god. Missouri Comic Con? Oh my god, I don't think it's it
Okay,
either.
this is my badge. What is
What,
the frick is it?
what is it
No,
called?
it is Cosplaycon. This is the
See?
badge. Sorry, I didn't know. I literally have it in 2017. She's the only difference between like to know if you're like under 18 is they like sharpied out this little line and that's how you're like a youth or like an adult or whatever because I was like 17.
So was that your very first anime convention you went to?
Um yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Cosplaycon. I'm about to look this up because I think I've heard of it before. However, created in
It was small.
2011, Jefferson City at the Capitol Plaza Hotel. The last time it took place was June 15th through 18th, 2023. So did it just not happen in
I
2024? Is
don't
it
know.
done?
I don't know. I haven't been since 2017. I haven't like kept up with it.
Uh, they haven't posted on Twitter since 2022. Maybe it's gone.
It was very small. So I wouldn't be surprised
Yeah.
if like they're like we're done and just packed it up.
Oh, end
But
of an era. It says end of an era, June 13th. Yeah, I guess it's done. It's gone.
yeah, but
Wow.
the guests there were A-list. Like at least for cosplay for me, like that's the reason I went because they got Egg Sisters to go and they haven't posted anything since like COVID really.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got Alice and Tabitha.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. They were
And she
flying
was
out
so
all the
sweet.
girls.
Yeah. So I have like a photo of me with Alice and Tabitha and she's in some like Final Fantasy cosplay. I don't know the game, so it's like a relic. I'm like gonna keep holding on to that forever, that photo.
Live. So did you go there with friends or did your mom just take you?
No. It was just me and my mom.
That's
I
so
didn't have
that's
friends that
such a
did
slay.
cosplay.
Oh my god,
I
yeah.
I like didn't have friends that did cosplay until like I like basically like recently, like the Texas friends I've made. Like this was like it was like a solo bolo adventure. Like
Well, I was
of course I
gonna
like I had friends, but I never did group cosplays really,
yeah, I
like
was also gonna ask
clan
like how did you make
groups.
your way to Texas then from Missouri?
I went to college here,
Okay.
so I went to SMU
Okay.
and I graduated and I just stayed. I'm like, well, what's for me in Missouri?
Did you
There's not
cosplay
like,
throughout college?
like kind of.
It's
Basically, until
busy.
COVID, I was making stuff, and then COVID happened, and it kind of like killed my motivation for a little bit.
Same.
And then I changed my major, and I was like taking 18 hours, like 2 semesters back to back, and I was like,
Mm.
I can't really make anything.
I
Like,
feel that so hardcore because like when I was in college, I literally did not make anything basically throughout the year. But in the summer,
mm-hmm.
I made stuff when because I didn't really take summer classes. I had like
Yeah,
internships and jobs, but usually those were like normally 8 to 5, and so like I would like work on like after work or like on the weekends,
yeah.
and then like during winter break, I would try to like the last winter break I
Oh,
think my senior year, I worked on Katsu Crunch cosplay.
yeah. Oh, I did make like one or two things. I think it was big like junior year of college. Senior year, I didn't make a single thing,
Mm-hmm.
but um, and I picked back up when I like got into my first year of my job because I was like, I have so
Yeah.
much time now. But I feel like that's a
Yeah.
normal thing.
I think so too. And like obviously for me, like when COVID, the first year of COVID for me, in 2020, my motivation was so shot. I barely made a single thing the entire year. And I feel like people went
Mm-hmm.
one way or the other. Like
Mm-hmm.
people either went so hardcore and they made so much, and they like some people even like got into cosplay at that time.
Yeah.
Or like if you were like I think if you were like me and others, your motivation just went to the toilet. And like I know people like like people that had cosplayed for like 10, 15, 20 years and still cosplay today, they'll even say that that first
Mm-hmm.
year of COVID, they didn't really make anything because they like just didn't
Yeah.
have any energy or drive to do it.
Yeah, that's definitely valid. Like I was so like upset because I was like living in the dorms. Like I was so productive at school and then they just kicked us out and I'm like, "Oh, I'm back at home in Missouri." Like I drove back to Missouri. It's like, "Shit,
Oh,
I'm like in Missouri now." Like I'm doing like school from home and then like my parents and my sister are here. It's like whiplash a little bit.
I
It's
know.
like
I
going
felt
from Dallas and then back to your small town. I felt like I was getting dragged back.
not that mine was the same by any means, but like I was living
Yeah.
in downtown Chicago, and
Yeah.
I was like, well, I don't want to be in downtown Chicago in a studio apartment during the height of COVID. I'm gonna go back
Yeah.
home to Houston, what I thought was gonna be like two
Mhm.
weeks, and then I ended up being in Houston for like months, and I was at home with my
Mhm.
mom, working from there on remote work, and then driving to see my boyfriend every now and then. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was like not the same, and so like a whole year was just so disruptive. But anyway, so
Yeah.
you moved to Texas for college. You ended up coming back, finishing, and then staying in Texas. And then when would you say you kind of like entered into the, I guess, Texas cosplay community, like in terms of like actually starting to branch out and like meet people that were in the Texas con scene?
That's a good question. So I actually don't really know. I was basically like trying to find people on Instagram and then like find ways to like message them without it being creepy. Like I feel like that's like a skill you have to learn as a cosplayer, like especially if you want to make friends online, is just
Yeah.
like how to message someone without it being weird.
I think that for me, one of the biggest points I try to push is I'll just message, like I'll see like a guy cosplayer and I'd be like, "Oh my god, you're hot." And I'll just be like, hi baby. No, well, sometimes, I mean, it depends, but no, I get what you're saying, because it's like making
Yeah.
relationships and friendships in online space is already difficult.
Yeah.
um Essentially, like I think for me, i I made my first like friend in the cosplay community, which really, like, my first friend that was like in the cosplay community was Carol, and then from her it kind of just branched and branched and branched and met new people who introduced me to more people who introduced me to more people. So like it was a very natural, organic kind of way of just like meeting
Mhm.
everyone, and that's kind of what happened for me after years and years. But no, I get it, because there are also some people that like I find online randomly and I admire their cosplays, and I'm just like, hi BB, and I'll just message them. But it is kind of weird when you
Mhm.
cold call.
Yeah. Like that's how I became friends with Sammy. I basically like cold called her and I was like, we should do a duo cosplay. And I was like, we should enter in this giant contest. And she's like, I'm not sure. And then we met up in person and I like speech 100 talked her into doing it. Like, and she was like, this is such a good idea. And then they canceled the contest. And so we're still making them, but it's just funny.
That's so funny. No, Stitch Crimes the easily convinced, I think, is what we'll
Convinced. It only
say.
took like 5 hours of talking. We like
Only
literally like hung
5.
up for like only 5. But no, it's fine. It's gonna be fun. But I don't know. I feel like meeting up in person is like how you really seal the deal. I do have a lot of online friends I haven't met up with in person, but I don't know.
Well, what's
Like
also
in
kind of crazy is I feel like so we met earlier this year, but I honestly feel
mm-hmm.
like we've known each other for quite a bit longer than that, and I don't know why.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I remember you actually like at the last Aeicon, like I entered the contest, I was like in Journeyman, and you were like sitting behind me and you were bitching about something. And I
Wait,
was like talking to
stop!
you, yeah.
Not me bitching about something at the
Because I
Aeicon
remember
cosplay
you were
contest.
wearing, I remember exactly what you were wearing, and you were handling for Kristen. You were wearing
Yeah,
that like flower romper.
I was.
Yeah.
And then, oh my god, that's so hilarious. Not the first time we actually exchanged anything was me bitching about something at a cosplay contest. That's so
Yeah.
vile.
It was really funny.
But
Um,
no, I was very like, I remember the first time that like I saw your Instagram and stuff. I think maybe Sammy was the one that sent it to me. I was like, oh my god, like her work is so cool, and she does so much really cool like armor and like 3D prints and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't know how I haven't met this person before, but like getting more
mhm.
your backstory, it kind of makes more sense.
Yeah, I'm
Because
like
you
a
were like,
hermit.
Oh, I was gonna say hermit.
I haven't gone to many Texas cons. It's like also another part of the thing. It's like I don't get out of my cave much, so
Well, you're changing that now. You're turning over a
I'm
new
changing
leaf.
it. New leaf.
Yeah, new leaf. I want to talk about your experiences 3D modeling and printing because like I
Oh
think that
God.
well, okay, here's the thing. I think that oftentimes what happens is as a cosplayer, you do kind of get known for something, right? Like you might be able
Yeah.
to do more than one thing, but you kind of find yourself being represented by your work in one way or another. And to be honest, I think that most cosplayers when they start, they end up tending to heavily dive into one area and then kind of learn new areas
Mhm.
along the way. Would you say that like
Mhm.
3D printing and modeling was like your first area of like passion in terms of cosplay, or how did that happen?
So it started first because like I really the first thing I really learned how to do in cosplay, I learn is in quotes,
Okay.
is use the sewing, operate a sewing
Generously.
machine. Generously learn is operate a sewing machine because I was like, well, it's clothes. I gotta learn how to sew, or at least put needle to thread. So I learned how to do that and like halfway follow a pattern, like do some really botched sewing. Like I didn't know what a hem was, did not know what a lining was, nothing. Um, but then I got started doing these designs and like these characters because I play a lot of. I basically only cosplay from video games, and only cosplay from video games I play. And the characters I cosplay are usually the characters I play in the video game, or that I just really like the design of.
Hmm.
Um, and most of those characters like have all like this hard surface things, like Overwatch. Like all the characters have armor, they have guns. I really struggled with foam for a while. So I was like, I can't make these surfaces, I can't make these curves. And then like people were posting 3D models and 3D prints, and I was like in the engineering department at school at university, like once I graduated high school. So I'm like, oh, they have 3D printers I can just use. This is awesome. So I started printing models I found online and like finishing them terribly. Like it was very much a gradual process. And then I just like kept refining how I finished my 3D prints and models. And eventually I got to the point where I'm like, oh, I want to make this character, but there's no 3D model for it.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm learning how to do this now. And so I sat down and learned how to do Fusion 360.
So you use Fusion 360 for your modeling
Yeah.
mostly.
Yeah. I like
Yeah.
only use Fusion. Like I have Blender. I basically use Blender to just like rip models from video games to study them more. And then sometimes I'll basically like use those as like a UV map thing. I don't know if that's the right word, but kind of use them
Like a
as
texture map kind of thing.
a template, like Pepakura, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of.
So I mean, I think I use Fusion 360 as well, but yeah, and Blender is one that I think that there are definitely some things I've wanted to model that look more organic, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
scared because Blender seems scary and hard, and I've heard it's scary and
Yeah.
hard from everyone that uses it.
Yeah, there's this really amazing 3D modeler who does a lot of like Valorant guns and props, and he's incredible. He does it all in Blender. Like electronics, like fitting components. I don't understand how he does it, but he models the entire thing in Blender. So like anything you can do it in Blender. That's the thing. I always tell people 3D programming, it's like personal preference. Like don't let someone convince you that you can't do something in one program. Because you can
Well,
do whatever you want.
it's very like you
Well,
can sew this whole garment by hand with needle and thread, but you could also use a
yeah,
sewing
it
machine.
is. But I don't know. I don't like telling people that you cannot do something in a program because you can. It's just gonna be harder.
For sure. For sure. No, that makes sense.
But,
So you kind of started making 3D, you started 3D printing to get
mm-hmm,
more of those like detailed, like very like inorganic, like
mm-hmm,
hard surfaces, like very like
mm-hmm,
mechanical, very like futuristic sci-fi kind of vibe.
mm-hmm,
And then you
mm-hmm.
realized, oh, I need to learn how to model to be able to make these things.
Yeah.
So what did you start? Like, I'm just really curious. What was your first like 3D printer that you started with? Did you like buy one or did you start
That
with like
I
a
bought
public one?
myself. I was using my schools until I graduated college, and then I like used part of my first paycheck to buy a Prusa Mark III. And I
Oh.
put it because I my job in college. Oh, this was another big part of like why I was so into 3D printing. My job in college was working at the engineering makerspace.
Oh.
Like I worked there like part time, and I can fix every single tool in there except for some of the wood shop stuff because I don't really like the wood shop. But the laser cutter, the 3D printer, like I could repair them.
Damn.
I'm pretty good at it. but
You want to
it
try
just
fixing my
depends.
piece of shit that's
I'm
back there on
not.
the
We've talked
table?
about that thing. I told you no. I have had like 100. My friend messaged me in DMs, and I like helped her fix her printer over Discord. So
Oh,
it
love.
did get fixed. I got 100%
The
success
3D
rate right now.
printer
So
surgeon, if you will.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I bought a Prusa. This was before like I knew about bamboos or before they really came out, I think.
Right.
So I bought the kit. I assembled the kit by myself. Um, and then I used it until I got Bianca. She's over there. And now I like it's so easy now.
Oh, I know.
I don't have,
So
I don't have to fix
we,
anything.
we don't have to talk. We have to talk about the glory of the bamboo gods because, okay, for
Yeah.
those of you who don't know about 3D, I mean, honestly, I feel like if you're a cosplayer and listening to this, you probably have heard about Bamboo Labs printers at this point.
Yeah.
But for those of you who don't know or haven't used 3D printers before, there's a company called Bamboo Labs. They make exceptional printers that are reasonably priced, especially for the quality that you're getting. They make things so easy. They take all of the hard part about calibrating your printer and troubleshooting mostly out of the process, and it makes it so
Yeah.
nice.
It is really a game changer. I just like everyone I get a lot of messages about like, oh, what 3D printer should I get? And like if budget is no object for you, and even if like okay, like I always recommend to people if you're gonna go buy an Ender 3, be prepared to cry over this printer. Especially if you're not like a tech savvy person. Like if you have trouble updating your apps on your iPhone or if you have trouble like configuring settings on your computer, the Ender 3 is going to be a nightmare for you. Um it's it's basically a whole hobby in itself.
Which is not
If
what
you
I
just want
want.
to it's not what you want to cosplay because the hobby is cosplaying. The hobby is finishing your nice little sword. The hobby is not fixing the printer to make it print the sword. And if you want to go buy the Ender 3, you can. I'm not going to recommend it. I would just save until you can get something nicer that's going to last you for longer and not cause you dozens of hours of pain, if not hundreds.
No, quite literally. I know I won. So I did a cosplay contest with my friends in
Mm-hmm.
2019, I think it was, at Aeicos, and we won a 3D printer, and I think it was an Ender 3, and I didn't
Yeah.
know anything about 3D printers at the time, and I didn't have space for one, but I gave it to my friend, and he's very much the person where he's like, oh, I'm a tinkerer, I like want to learn all this, and then
Mm-hmm.
he ended up he still has it, and it's still, I think it works technically, because he's like
Yeah.
he's literally replaced like half the parts on it at this
Yeah.
point, and like he's turned into like this Frankenstein thing where like it
Yeah.
works, but like at what cost? At the cost of literally learning how to build a 3D printer.
It's a separate hobby. Yeah.
Yeah, very. I
It,
could never, honestly.
I don't
um
recommend it.
what are like some big myths of 3D printing that you think people will say or believe that are not true?
You're like talking about relations to cosplay, like
Mm-hmm.
judging and contests.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think, like, especially judges, like, and it's a non-trivial number. They believe that 3D printing is cheating. That if you make something out of foam, it's like just better than having it be 3D printed. Like in terms of like skill
Mm-hmm.
used. I don't really think 3D printing's cheating. I definitely don't think 3D modeling's cheating. I I'm trying to like frame this in a way that's like not me trying to be salty
No,
about
be
this.
salty
But
about it because I live.
because 3D modeling to me, at least the way I 3D model is it's very there's like intent behind everything. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to model very clean now where I'm thinking about, oh, how like these two parts are different colors. This is going to be gold, this is going to be red. I don't instead of just printing this as one piece, what if I can just do these as separate pieces, finish them separately, just glue them together at the end or fit them as like a puzzle just to make the finishing 10 times easier to make the finish everything look cleaner. Um and whenever I see someone like rip a model from a video game, cut it up, print it, and then slap paint on it, and you can see the polygons, it makes me cry. It's to say, like, there's like levels to 3D printing and 3D modeling, the same as there's like there's a skill floor and a skill ceiling to foam. Like, if you don't finish your foam, it's not going to look proper. If you
Right.
don't plasti dip it or something, like the paint's not going to hold. The same is for 3D printing. Just because like you have a machine that helps you with the work, it doesn't do all of it. You still have a lot of finishing to do.
Right. Well, what's also interesting with that is I feel like it takes a surprising amount of know-how to be able to understand how to rip files from a game. Like, okay, here's the thing.
Yeah.
For me, I would think it would be easier for me to learn how to model and model something myself than to go and learn how to rip it something from a game and like get it into a format that is suitable to be like sliced and then printed. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's easier than I think it
Yeah.
is, but
It's pretty easy, but like the basically anyone that works in video games would know, or like works with like those 3D models. But basically, all the models in video games, you'd be like, oh, like the model of this gun's already done. Can't I just print it? No, it's a low poly mess. It is like super. So your game isn't like a billion gigabytes.
right.
Everything's basically like low poly, and they put like a texture on top of it that gives it all the detail. Um, so when you rip the actual model, it's very rudimentary, and it's not
Right.
suitable to be 3D printed. It's not suitable as like a display piece.
Well, exactly. And it's like obviously when you print it out and it looks like that, people are going to notice. But I think that something else with the whole concept or the whole, like, I guess, prejudice, if you will, that definitely was present, I think, a lot more a few years ago and is, I think, less and less
Mm-hmm.
probably every year. But like, I think what people don't understand is that it takes a lot of effort to model something in the same way that it takes a lot of effort to actually have it successfully print properly and then to be able to actually assemble it in a way that is structurally sound and also finished on the surface to a way that doesn't
Yeah.
look like it was literally 3D printed and
Yeah.
painted because it's there's so much effort involved there and I think that like you said there is like some type of thought process behind okay well if they didn't model it themselves, then it has no merit. Or there'll be people that are like, oh, if they
Mm-hmm.
only modeled it themselves but didn't do any of the finishing, there's also no merit. And I think that it's all a balance of like what effort and work was put in versus what was the reward and the outcome. And it's not like this
Mm-hmm.
monolithic thing where you can say, oh,
Yeah.
they didn't model it, disregard it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It would like being like seeing a ball gown in a cosplay contest be like, oh, you didn't draft this pattern? We're throwing the whole thing out. Doesn't matter how clean your sewing is. We're just throwing you didn't draft the pattern. You didn't do the work. Someone else did all this work for you, just assembled instructions. That's basically the same thing.
Right. And it's also like I mean, I think we said with with the bamboo, like honestly, like it makes it so much easier with the printing
Mm-hmm.
itself, like the physical
Yeah.
printing part. But I will
Mm-hmm.
say that like the actual process of leveling your printer, knowing how hot to set the bed in the extruder, like doing the right supports, like placing the supports properly,
Mm-hmm.
especially on a printer that is not like a space age printer, it's hard. And like the odds of you
Yeah.
failing your print is high. It sucks.
Yeah. Definitely. And you can still rip good prints off of crappy printers.
Yes, you
I've done it
can.
before, but like the finishing will like really propel it. And printing printing is like its whole other beast. You
Hmm.
do get like if I were to ever judge a cosplay contest and someone came in and they like modeled everything and I could tell they modeled it and it was like thoughtful, that's like a million brownie points in my eyes. But I'm also like super biased to good 3D modeling because I rarely
Well,
ever see it.
yeah, and it's also not like necessarily your bias, but it's like it's your
It's my area of
base.
expertise,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But no, I get it. But at the same time, it's like okay, if you were judging a contest and like they did all of that thoughtfulness in terms of the modeling, right? But they didn't literally do anything. They just like spray painted it black.
Yeah,
You'd be
no,
like,
then
oh,
yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm pretty like well versed enough in like 3D models and like what's out there. I can tell if someone modeled it themselves or if they bought it from a certain website,
hmm.
especially like Halo armors and stuff. Most of the time, like I can look at, if I take especially take photos, I can go back and like check the models, and I'm usually pretty good about seeing
You
what's
could
what.
you could do Nancy Drew all up in that shit.
Yeah, I could Nancy Drew the entire thing. Like I've stared at that many 3D models.
I believe it. I want to also get your advice on like what are some like what's like a tip that you have learned throughout your process of modeling, printing, finishing that you think is maybe something that's not as well known or something that you think that just needs to be like echoed because it bears
Oh my
repeating?
god.
Like what is
Okay.
something that you have? Share with
If
the class.
you this is something that's like you need to do. in all of your 3D models. If something is longer than, I would say, a foot, or if it's skinny, if it's like skinnier than an inch and longer than a foot, it needs to be cored with something. It needs to be like, you need to have a support rod running through your print. And I like to use metal, and you can cut metal with your Dremel
Or a
and
bandsaw.
clamps or bandsaw. Not all of us are. Some of us have apartments. We're apartment crafters, but uh, but you need to core it with something, because if you don't, and someone hits it, or you drop it, or it gets sneezed on, it will break, and your whole finish you did on it will just crack. You need to
Very.
core it
Yeah.
with
I
something.
used so I've used wooden dowels, which are nice too.
Mm-hmm.
They like can also serve as a handle. So like I have like an axe from Fire Emblem,
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah.
cord parts of it that are wooden dowels, and I actually like put threaded. I was taught by my friend QT to like put threaded rod inside of part of the dowel, and then kind of like lock it in with resin, which
Yeah.
then you can like thread the pieces of the wooden dowel together, and then you can like
Yeah.
separate them for like storage. But
Yeah.
that's more of like, you need like a base. Like the axe has parts of it that like I don't use a 3D print. It's just that wrapped with like a suede cording. So like that's nice for
Yeah.
that. But then on
Yeah,
other
that's good.
things, like the sword that you actually helped me print, the sword from Dungeon Meshi, that
Mm-hmm.
the model was made with a core inside, thank God, because then all I had to do was figure out that whole size, go to Lowe's and get like a metal rod.
Just there, like, like
Yes,
putting rods in swords
literally,
at Lowe's.
I brought the sliced piece of the sword to Lowe's,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just sliding it into all these different rods, being like, okay, is this the right size? Is this the right size? But no, it's so helpful. Although I will say that what really gagged me to that point is when we were at A Fest, I had like a wagon. Wait, I don't know if I told you this. I
Mm-hmm.
might have. I had a wagon, and
Mm-hmm.
I had a sword that Carol had for one of her cosplays, and I was bringing
Mm-hmm.
it into the elevator, and the sword like fell out, like out of the wagon, kind of like shifted, and it like
Mm-hmm.
went into the elevator shaft, and when I pulled the wagon, it like literally snapped the sword in half. This sword had a metal rod core,
Jesus Christ.
and I did not pull it very hard, and the whole metal rod snapped in half. I screamed.
Mm,
I scrumped.
that's funny though.
It's so
Just like
bad.
balls.
No, but you're so right. Like I think that like if you core is definitely a requirement. If you can make it to like break down for travel, even better. But also that it does
Mm-hmm.
introduce like
That's a whole new ball game. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does.
yeah, no, very.
Depends.
And also my own tip, I think, and you probably have done this at some point, I would imagine. But like I learned this maybe a year ago, maybe less than a year ago. But like basically I, like a lot of people, there's like a whole list of processes that you can do to stand a 3D print, right? Like there's different grits you
Mm-hmm.
can use. The general principle is go from a lower grit to a higher grit, right? And then you
Mm-hmm.
use like some type of like filler primer at some stages to be able to fill in some of those valleys that are just present from the way the filament lays down. But
Mm-hmm.
you can also use like a spot glazing putty from Bondo to also fill in parts of the layer lines that are just deeper, that maybe can't be filled by a filler primer and can't be sanded
Mm-hmm.
out. But what I learned also is that like a kind of a fast way to get to a really nice finish is I will sand, like I'll do like a few passes at like a low grit, but I only maybe do like a maybe like a 220, and then maybe like a 320, and then I'll wash it off, and then what I'll do is look at the glazing spot putty, and I'll get acetone, and I'll water down the
Mm-hmm.
glazing spot putty with acetone in a cup to where it's like almost like a very, it's like a liquid consistency. It's like not like a putty anymore. And I'll use
Mm-hmm.
a little brush, and I'll brush that on in layers really thinly, and the acetone evaporates. And then what that does is basically deposits into those crevices in such a fine way to where if you go over your print like 3 or 4 times with that layers of like acetone mixture with the putty, and then you go over and just lightly sand with like a 400 grit, or like maybe low, like the lowest 400 grit or higher, it literally will look so smooth without like a
Ooh,
ton of the legwork.
I'll
I
have to try
love.
that. I have been trying to print in ABS more and acetone, and acetone will dissolve ABS.
Oh yeah, it
So don't do it on
does.
ABS.
No, that's true. That's a good
PLA
point.
is fine. You
Yeah.
just gotta be careful with your like acetone and your chemicals because it loves to eat things.
Yeah,
But
that's true. Because like I have never used ABS because I know that like from like a filter perspective, it's like there's more fumes than like a PLA, which doesn't have. But then you can also acetone smooth ABS, which is a whole other thing that
yeah,
I've never done before. But like,
I've done that. It's really hard to get a consistent smooth
oh
because it's like a
really?
vapor chamber. So you don't. It's like sanding. It's like you have total control. Acetone, it's like, well, this could be. It depends on like how much you add and how big the part is, and it's really hard to like do that math and like how long to leave it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like I think it's easier to just sand it. And ABS is easier to sand than PLA, which is why I like using it.
Oh,
But you have to
true.
like have a nicer printer to print it or like an enclosure.
Right, and inclusion stuff and like all the safety, personal
So
safety. But also something else
yeah.
I forgot is also second tip is I just keep thinking I'm a wealth of knowledge, I just like to share.
Mm-hmm.
But I thank you. But I learned that like if it's a very simple slight curve of a print, so like if it's like a very slight curve, and I'm not talking
Mm-hmm.
like a 90-degree or something like that, but if it's like a very slight curve to something that you need, it's honestly easier to model it like flat on like
Oh,
flat and then use a heat gun to lightly heat the 3D print carefully. And you have to know your heat gun and you have to know the material and work cautiously. That way you don't overheat it and distort
yeah.
your print.
And how thin it
But,
is
and how
too.
thin it is. But you can lightly heat it with a heat gun and you can just gently bend it. And it actually works so well. And you don't have to worry about modeling a curve because that is going to be harder, obviously, than just modeling it flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have never like had something that skinny to make. All like curve stuff, I'm just like suck it up and I model it on the curve infusion.
See, I'm
Like
a
all of my
cheater.
Wraith
I'm the lazy
armor.
one.
I can I'll have to make a tutorial for modeling on the curve because that's what I get asked a lot.
Oh yeah,
Is
also
all my Wraith
modeling.
armor.
That's
Yeah.
true. Like, modeling to fit your body too. Like, do
Oh,
you
that's
how
awful.
do like what does
How
that
do I
look like?
so I have like a little there's a program, it's like $40 worth every penny because it's basically Pepakura plus like a armor sizer. It's called Armor Smith Designer. And you basically put in your measurements, take your measurements with the clothes you're gonna wear under your armor on, and then take them from like the fullest point. So like if you bend your elbow, take it from like your elbow like totally like
Mm-hmm.
flexed or whatever, so you don't like have any fitting issues. But you put your measurements in, then you take your 3D models and you size them around the little dummy, and you can export those to 3D print, or you can send those within the program to be unwrapped like Pepakura. And so usually I will scale my parts in there. Like for Elden Ring, I scaled everything in there. And then I will print a draft, just like super fast, super cheap. I have like cheap material I use just for doing drafts.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try it on, make adjustments, then reprint. There's no good way to like fit armor. You just have to waste material and reprint things.
Really? Do you
Yeah.
find yourself like basically printing like a first draft, like a mock-up, if you will, of most of your
Yeah.
armor that needs to be like fitted to your body, and then you end up like, oh,
Mhm.
this is too big here, or this needs to curve more, or this needs to be smaller, and then you'll have to make those adjustments and then
Mhm.
print a second time?
Yeah, if they're small adjustments, you can just make them like in the slicer you're using because you can scale the X and the Y
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like finagle it that way. But if they're big adjustments, you obviously need to go back to your program and make those changes there. But if it's just like a scale or just like making something a little bit skinnier, you don't need to go take it back to the program.
That's so exhausting though, because also like a lot of these pieces, well, I mean, on a lot of printers will take like, 11, 14, 20 hours to print, only to realize
Mm-hmm.
that it's not the right size. That must be frustrating.
Yeah, with the Prusa took a long time. That's not a problem anymore with the bamboo. Um, but the Prusa definitely like would plan out like weeks. I would just be running my Prusa, being like, oh, I'm gonna test this armor. Too small, too big, too small. Okay, I like the size. No, but I just printed the bicep and now it's too small again. So I gotta scale it up. It was a nightmare.
That sounds like
Like my Elden Ring
hell. That
armor.
sounds like cosplay
Yeah, it
hell.
is. It is. And you're wasting a lot of material. And you can like save your scraps and like there's this guy who like you can send your scraps to and he'll like recycle them for you.
Oh. This
It's
guy? What do
like
you mean this guy?
there's just like random guy that does it. There's
In your
probably like
apartment?
another. No, like online. I
Is he like
haven't
in the
done it because
garage?
I've been printing a lot of like weird filaments and like materials, and like they all have to kind of match. I mean, you could kind of like make filament soup, but I don't really want to. I don't remember his name. I need to like I've been saving some scraps to send to him.
You know, this is so helpful because there's this guy somewhere, someplace that you can send
He's got like
material
a
to
filament melter. You like melt the
sometimes.
filament.
And I don't know his name and I don't know where he is, but he just says, like, oh, he just exists somewhere.
There's probably someone somewhere local that some like poor 3D printing hobbyist was like, you know what? I made a filament melter to like rewind all my failed prints.
Have you seen those like Instagram tutorials where like they'll melt down the filament into like a hot glue stick mold and they'll use a hot glue gun to like weld?
No, what? What's your algorithm, girl? What the hell?
It's
Like,
crackheadedry. That's what it is.
got it. That's what it is.
Okay, so
It's called the
basically,
For You
like,
page.
no, literally. So it basically, like, I saw this thing where, like, I don't know how, like, in what way they melted down the filament. It was all the bamboo poop filament, and like,
Oh, that.
yeah. So like, basically, listeners, Bamboo Labs printers, every time it needs to change color or in between it changing, like, the new starting a new print, it like will basically extrude filament out just to like get the extruder clean, basically, and it will like shit the filament out the back of it and literally poop filament out like a
It
fucking rat.
does.
Um, but
It's
basically,
so
this
wasteful.
yeah, it's crazy. But this man was like, "Oh, like we're gonna save the poop," and he was like melting down that poop filament into hot glue gun molds, and then like putting the 3D print filament glue gun stick mix thing into glue guns, and then using it to like weld 3D prints together.
That's crackhead energy. You can also like take a soldering iron and like the actual roll of filament that the filament comes on and weld it like that.
Oh,
I don't seam weld. I don't I don't
well,
I don't think
yeah.
you need
I
to.
just used a lot of super glue.
I use or epoxy. Like my Gwen scissors are all epoxy. I didn't seam weld it.
Yeah, or that too. Um, Okay, departing to something completely random. You
Okay.
said that your primary media that influenced your cosplay is like video games, right? And like I
Yeah.
think that's demonstrated in a lot of your cosplays. But I do want to call attention to the fact that you cosplayed from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Okay, I can explain.
Explain this,
Um,
please, for the court, because I
in
am
high school,
confused.
senior year of high school, I read every single part of JoJo's. It's longer than One Piece.
No, it's
If you go
not.
by
Is it really?
pages. Yes, it is. If you go by pages, I've read all of One Piece. If you go by like pages, I think JoJo's is longer still. I read it all. And
You look like you've been to war. You're sitting there
I
with your
know
eyes wide
see,
open, just being like, I've read it all.
I read Bleach, I read Naruto, I read One Piece. I'm like a massive weeb. I don't really watch anime anymore, but I keep up with One Piece. I read all of One. It took me. I logged my One Piece reading. I started Christmas Eve, my senior year of college. I finished like a week after I graduated. It took me like 7 months,
That seems fast, though. There's a
six
lot of it,
months.
right? Were you reading
I
all the
was reading
time?
7 chapters a day. Yeah,
Dear Lord. Wait,
yeah.
so
It was
with
a full
JoJo's
time
Bizarre
job.
Adventure,
Oh
so
yeah,
you were a
JoJo's. Sorry.
stan.
I really enjoyed it. Like my it's not my current boyfriend, but my ex boyfriend got me into JoJo's. My ex boyfriend also got me into Dark Souls, so I played Dark Souls and Bloodborne because of him, and then like I read all of JoJo's.
Oh.
So
So,
I still yeah, but
so then you just made it? Then you just like, I want to cosplay from it?
yeah, it's an easy costume to make. I feel like because it's like leggings, and I bought all these. I found these little star patches on AliExpress, and I like sewed them all with my machine, just like literally just like straight down the patch, like no rhyme or reason, just like sewn on. And I
Love.
really liked the way it looked. And I also made like I made like a part 8 cosplay. Um, it was like it's a couple cosplay.
So here's the thing. I don't even know anything about JoJo's at all.
Uh-huh.
I've seen like 2 episodes, I think, ever of the very first season, whatever that may be. The only thing I know is from my friend that cosplays from it,
Mm.
and he cosplays Dio Um
Okay.
and like that's and literally his cosplays are the only thing I know from that entire, like I don't know, I have any context. I don't know why he's carrying a street sign. I don't know why he's like doing all these things. I don't know what's
All poses.
happening.
We gotta get you
Yeah.
on the train.
I don't know what like re
Um.
means, but he has it and he does it, and his wigs look fabulous because he got those really good wigs commissioned, and he looks stunning.
Yes.
But I was like, I don't go here, and I don't think I ever will.
I think part 7, they're gonna animate part 7. It's like basically confirmed. And I think you'd like part 7. It's a horse race across America. It's set in like the late 1800s.
Is this okay? I can't even go into it.
It's
Okay, well, we'll watch it together. We'll have a movie
yeah, we
night
can watch it together. We
because
can cosplay from it together too, because you're gonna be
don't go that far.
obsessed.
Don't go that
Yeah.
far. I want to talk about also about Zuko.
Oh my, you're literally fucking you're scraping through like COVID content.
Oh, absolutely.
My soul left
Wait,
my body.
wait. I need to give you your flowers though, because you
Okay.
did a cause test. Because it was just a cause test. It wasn't like a whole cosplay,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I
You
like
did
had a wig.
yeah, you did a cause test of Zuko from Fire Emblem, from Avatar: The Last
Yeah.
Airbender, and you actually looked really fucking good.
Oh,
Like,
thanks.
I was gagged because I feel like the entire time I've seen your cosplays in person, or even your more recent cosplays that, like, I didn't have to scrounge and stalk you for,
Mm-hmm.
you're always in like female presenting characters, or you have had like a
Mm-hmm.
mask on. Like Wraith is like,
Mm-hmm.
she's a girl, but she has
Yeah,
like,
she's a girl.
yeah. But she has like a mask on. So like honestly,
Yeah.
like it's like, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that you could pull off cosplaying a male character so well. I was
Thank
shook.
you. Thank you.
I think I need
Uh
to see more of this from you, is what I'm trying to imply.
I really want to make there's like one male character I really want to make. He's like one of my favorite characters. I want to make Zed from League of Legends, but like his comic outfit. Like it's like
Kind of
they did League of
Google.
Legends did this comic.
Okay.
Just like you have to type in the comic version because he has a mask. Believe it or not, like I want a cosplay character with a mask. Um I have cosplayed a few male characters or male / non-binary characters, but they all had masks.
He looks like it looks like, what is this? A Power Ranger.
He is like no. Did you pull up the like with like the? Let me send it to you on Discord. I want to make sure you're getting like the right
He
one.
looks like Aquaman Power Ranger, I feel. And all of the Google images say Mighty Morphin.
No, let me see. Okay, I found the character sheet. Let me send this to you.
Okay. No, because like I feel like for me, okay, so like there's this thing, and I think this is gonna go to a whole other topic, but I feel like there's
Okay.
this thing where it's like, yes, you should feel free and right and proper to cosplay
Mm-hmm.
whatever character you want, however they look versus however you look, barring changing, things that should not be changed, like your
Yeah.
skin tone and like your taping your eyes and all very that, like
Mm-hmm.
maybe don't do that. But I think that like it's very like, you should cosplay whatever you want, but there is another reality that everyone knows, that is like, okay, if you cosplay a character that you don't look like, there's a high chance that when you go into like mainstream or people that are just nasty online, they're gonna be shitty, and that just is gonna happen. However much like we as a cosplay community can try to bolster that from happening, like it can happen, not that it should, and not that fear of that happening should prevent you from cosplaying a character if you really like them if they don't look like you. But it is a reality that I think deters a lot of people from cosplaying characters, because they're not going to look as much like them as if they were going to cosplay someone that they did just
Mm-hmm.
look more like. And I think for me, like I've always said that I don't think I'd make a very pretty girl, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't necessarily want to look like a pretty girl most of the time, but I feel like there are a lot of female characters that I think I would like to cosplay, but I just don't have like necessarily the self-confidence to think that I would look good as a female character,
Mm.
except for when I cosplayed Shadow Weaver from She-Ra and the Princess of Power,
Yes.
because
Yes.
that was a character. First of all, she is an absolute cunt, and I live because she is so vile and rotted, and she's
Yeah.
so funny. She has some of the best lines in that whole show, and she is hilarious. And her whole arc was so beautiful, and she's such a good character. But her face was covered the entire
Mm-hmm.
time until like the
Mm-hmm.
very last second. But her face was covered the entire time. And I was like, okay, I can body myself with a corset. And if my whole face is covered and I just have a wig, no one cannot tell me I'm
Mm.
that bitch. And so I felt very confident in myself in doing a female
Okay.
character in that time, even though because my face was covered. Although I don't know if I could say the same thing if my face was not covered. But I mean, that's just a me thing
Okay.
personally. But oh, this is not Mighty Morphin. He is hot.
No.
What
I
the
know.
hell?
Yeah, I really want to make. I've been wanting to make that design for a while. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Catch me drooling. Oh my god. This is
You should read the
so
comic. I'll send you the
good.
link.
Wait, so people want to look this character up. This is who?
Zed from League of Legends, but it's the It's type in Zed League of Legends, Zed comic League of Legends. Just type that into Google.
Okay. No, he is beautiful. Oh my god. Yeah, you should make that. That's honestly it's not too complicated. It's a good amount of sewing, if anything.
Yeah, there's some good like sewing, some armor. I could use like some nice like cool fabrics on the front. It looks like very. I don't know if like silk duponi, but I don't even know how to say it. I know if I had the fabric in my hand, I could feel it and be like, yeah, it's this one.
Yeah, no,
But
I
you
love
get,
it.
you know what I'm saying.
You should do it. I support you.
Thank you.
But okay, so I want to also talk about your favorite convention. So like, okay, here's the thing. If you had to pick
Mm-hmm.
one convention, anime, video game, comic, whatever, just fan con that you
Mm-hmm.
had to go to, not had to, that sounds like you're being imprisoned and like stuck
Like gun
there.
in my
But
head.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
gun to your head, literally. But like, if you had to pick one, the only one that you can go to forever, ever again, and it's like once a year you had the opportunity to go, but you can't go to any other convention, fan convention. Which one would that be, and why?
DragonCon. DragonCon. Not even a second thought in my mind.
I
DragonCon.
feel like you're ready to answer that question before I
I mean, no,
even.
I was ready before, like, you know, in Jeopardy, they say like one word and they like put the buzzer down. That was me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wait,
um,
so tell me why. What are the things about Dragon Con that inspire you so dearly and that keep you going?
um, there's a lot of things. One, I feel like a lot of anime conventions now, for better or for worse, have been starting to skew for younger audiences, and a lot of people are there only to see anime guests. They're
Mm,
not there to see any aspect of the convention. They're like, I'm here to get my autograph and bounce, or here to get my autograph and film a TikTok. And like, that's fine. Like, you can have your own reason for coming. That's not the reason I like conventions. Dragon Con, the crowd is always older. It's always mostly adults. Like, kids do come, especially for the parade, and they come during the day with
yeah,
their
like during the
parents.
day. Yeah.
But at night, it's all adults. I rarely
Hmm.
see any kids, and if there's kids, like they're with their parents. There's not just like random teenagers running around. Dragon Con, the badge is pretty expensive, and who wants their kid in downtown Atlanta? I barely want to be in downtown Atlanta.
Very.
But it's just such a good con. I like always, if you have the means to go, go. Start planning today. It's so different than anything else.
Hmm.
I have so much fun talking to strangers. Like I'm an introvert, extrovert. Like I love talking to people at conventions because I'm like, this is like my safe space. This is my people. They're not going to judge me because I'm dressing up in cosplay. They think it's cool.
Hmm.
First, you know. And I like love talking to people. I love giving ribbons out. Like the whole ribbon tradition at Dragon Con is really wholesome.
Oh, absolutely.
I had a lot of good panel. I had more good experiences this year at Dragon Con than like anything negative. Like the puppet show this year was a little weird for me, but I feel like it's weird every year.
I don't know what you're talking about. Elaborate, please.
There's like a puppet variety show at Dragon Con, and it takes place at like 1 a.m. on Saturday or Sunday night
Where? Like where? Dragon
in like a
Con?
ballroom, like I think it was in the Hilton ballroom or the Hilton ballroom, like one of those random
Is it like
ballrooms
one
they
of the
just set up
marquee,
tables.
like highly attended events, or is it
It
like
is
kind of
very we had to wait in line for like 90 minutes outside.
really?
Yeah,
Oh my god,
yeah,
I didn't know that existed. Why was it weird?
yeah. There was just I don't think I can talk about the skits on YouTube.
Oh, you can. Please tell me.
No. Oh my
We
god,
don't
no,
care about
there's
monetization here. It does not
okay.
matter.
There is like a very like phallic skit, like with a like prosthetic penis and everything, and this guy like cut his prosthetic penis off like in the puppet show, and then like pump is a lot like with a guillotine, like it was like a whole guillotine prop. I was also like very sleep deprived. I walked out. I wasn't there for it, but I
Okay,
also saw like
wait.
some.
I asked No, I wish I wouldn't have asked.
She wouldn't have. Like, imagine you're there, you're a little drunk, you're with your friends. The people behind us, I was talking to them about Balatro for like a little bit, and then they got kicked out for doing
Oh,
something. I don't know. Then they had to like send security and they kick them out during the puppet show. There were some really good puppet acts though. There was this like marionette puppet where it was like this guy had like a dress shirt suspended on like marionette strings, and he picked up a balloon with the dress shirt on strings and put the balloon in a shopping bag, like a
okay.
paper bag. It was so impressive. Like, I have never been impressed by a puppet before, but that looked impossible. I was like, bravo. I'm staying this entire puppet show. Like, some of the acts I didn't vibe with, but I'm like, you know what, if they showed peak, I'm gonna stay. And then they
Right.
showed the penis thing, and I was like, okay, I'm done.
That wasn't even the
I
end. That was
walked
just
out.
like
No, they were still going strong.
you were like, I gotta get out of here.
I gotta get out. I'm like, I gotta get out.
Oh
I don't know where I
my
gotta go, but
God.
not here.
So that's why it's your favorite convention, the puppet show.
No, not the puppet show. It's just like I still liked going. No hate to anyone in the puppet show. It's just not for me. Not for me.
You know what I lived for at
Hmm.
DragonCon? I love the creativity in the costumes, and I love how lighthearted everything is.
Yes, it's
I really
very like,
do.
yeah.
Because it's like you can show up with like an actual cosplay, is that in quotes, with like, something
Mm-hmm.
that's like well crafted and everything, and there's a space for that for sure. And like there's meetups that happen, and like when I went last time, I brought like a Mass Effect cosplay, which was honestly like really big, and I don't think I would do that again because I was like, this is
Oh
absurd.
yeah,
although
that.
Although I did get to meet a lot of people at the Mass Effect meetup, and I got to meet Mark Meir, who is the voice actor for Commander Shepard, and we got to take a picture
Hmm.
together with a little baby Liara doll. That was kind of weird, but I lived. So that was like an experience. But like I feel like you get the time and a place, and you can like bring a big cosplay, or you can bring something ridiculous, like a
Mm-hmm.
sexy one slur. Like
Yes.
anything's
The
possible.
honestly, the best cosplay I saw all weekend was this couple. It was like a husband and wife, and they were cosplaying incest dimension Rick and Morty, and they were drunk in character, holding up signs like "This is incest direction dimension Rick and Morty," and they were like making out and stuff.
Oh my god.
It was
I
so
I
funny and
remember the ones
cursed.
I remember the most was I remember one from the Bunny Hutch party, which is like on Thursday night. It's
Mm-hmm.
everyone like it's like a bunny party where all everyone can dress up as bunny suits, bunny girls, like Playboy bunny girls, or Hugh Hefners with like robes and like slippers and stuff. Um, and there was a Marge Simpson and Homer Simpson. And they had literally like lips that like stuck out of their face like this. And the
What?
Marge Simpson had hair that went up like probably 5 feet in the air.
That's so good.
That was phenomenal. And then I also vividly remember that was the year that like that big shipping like vessel called like the Evergreen got stuck in like the
Oh,
canal, and
yeah.
someone was cosplaying as the Evergreen shipping boat with all the containers on it, and they were literally blocking like they would like go on
Like
the escalator and block the escalator.
that's
It
so
was such a
funny.
but the thing is like and like behavior like that normally is not condonable, but at DragonCon I feel like acting a fool and causing minor inconveniences is really okay.
It is like the Michael Myers with the shrub, the mobile shrub he moves around.
That it's like as long as you're not destroying hotel property and like hurting other
Yeah.
people, but like other than that, like it was like it's a really fun time to like let loose and like be a fool, and like I think it's so creative, it's so fun. I think that the programming's actually really well done, and I think that the only thing, okay, there's two things I'm gonna give.
Mhm.
It can't be all
Mhm.
good. Their registration, their badges. Did you get your badges mailed out?
No, they never do mail.
They're too big to not mail out badges. It is obscene that they don't mail out badges. There is no reason for
I
them
will
not
say
to.
the line was tolerable this year. I went there like Thursday evening, like
Hmm.
5 p.m. Only waited like 20 minutes.
Which is crazy
They
because when
must have fixed it.
I went Thursday evening at 5 p.m. and there was a 2.5 hour long wait, and we
Yeah,
wanted to
I've done
die.
that before. I think they fixed it or so. Or people just started coming on Wednesday. I think that was
Hmm.
part of it. But
That's one, and then two. I don't know if they need to change the location for the artist alley dealers room. I don't know if they need to move
oh,
it somewhere larger. I don't know if they need to manage the line better. I don't
oh,
know if they
that
need to
line is awful.
have like a virtual queue. I don't know what they need to do, but like lining up are literally blocks, like literally the line stretching outside to get into the artist dealer's room building, stretching throughout downtown Atlanta around other buildings in the heat for an hour plus. It's unacceptable. I'm like, this is out of control.
Yeah, no, that's the hack to skip the line is if you buy like a workshop class, and the workshops are only like $20, $30. Like I did like a Diamond Dots class. You could cut the entire line. You show them your pass, they let you walk into the dealer's hall.
What's
and
a
you can
Diamond
stay
Dots?
there like after. It's like, well, you grab it. What a YouTuber.
I'm asking because I think I might actually know what it is, but I want to see what it is just to verify that I
finished
know.
mine, but it's like,
oh my
the
god,
diamonds you stick on the page, and like they
Okay.
like stick with the pen, and they had special DragonCons once. So I was like, my whole group I went with, I'm like, we're doing this because I'm the type A planner when we go to cons. Like I booked everything,
Liv,
and then we did it. So I'm gonna make like a pillowcase or something. I don't know.
remind me to tell you about that after we finish the episode because I have some lore to
Okay.
tell you about myself. Okay, no, I think okay, so for you DragonCon, I do think all the pros definitely outweigh the cons. It is expensive and it does take a lot of coordination, but I think that it is really, really fun. Especially if you have a good group of people to go with.
Oh yeah, go with friends. You can go alone and make it work. You're just going to be a hella extrovert.
Yeah.
But go with friends.
I think if I did go to one convention,
even if they don't cosplay, like none of my I went with one other friend who cosplayed, and then like my other friend Sydney, she like made her first ever cosplay for DragonCon. But all my other friends were just like my college friends. They
it's
had a
having
great time.
good people with you. That like to party and like to stay up because that should be a preface to. Like, you have to to. You have to like to go out. Like if you're like I need to be in bed by like 8 p.m. and noise bothers me, that is not the convention for you.
Yeah, for sure.
No, baby. If I had to go to one convention, I think forever, only one convention forever.
WeebCon.
Oh yes, T. Good, perfect. WeebCon forever. Can we make little can we make little t-shirts, little matching tank tops that say WeebCon forever across our titties?
Forever. We can do booty shorts too.
Live. Okay, so the other thing I want to ask you about is so like re-wearing cosplays. So I think that so often, and this isn't even like addressing the fast fashion cosplay of it all, but just like for us, like that make a lot of, if not all of our cosplays, I think that what ends up happening a lot of times is that while we spend so much time making the costume and while we're so proud of the end result, I think that we're always so excited to make the next thing, and we're always so excited to be building the next thing because that's what we like to do. And so I think that sometimes we can end up not re-wearing our costumes to the fullest potential, and get tired of wearing the same thing because you think, okay, I've worn this too many times. Do you find yourself falling into that? And are there costumes that you haven't worn frequently enough, do you think? Or do you get pretty good wear and mileage out of the costumes that you've made?
Okay. So this is kind of like a two-parter because there's a few costumes in my closet that I would like to rewear. Like my Chamber from Valorant, I would love to rewear Chamber because he's comfy. It's basically just like a vest and a button-up shirt and pants, but that vest is broken. The shirt is like broken. I need to do so much fixing to it. I can't wear it. I like pulled it out. I remember visibly being upset at Aeicos, like, why didn't I win anything? And I pulled out the costume like this summer to try and wear it to A Fest. I'm like, damn, this is so shit.
And
like,
you literally were like smacked in the face with reality.
I was like, this is so shit. I was like, just slapped at myself. Like it really turned over a new leaf. But a lot of what I've been making, because I really like last year wanted to push myself to make Wraith, and like I love Wraith, but I can't wear that costume. So she's not gonna get reworn unless Apex wants to pay me to wear it, probably. But Melanoy, the costume I made for AFAST, I did wear her DragonCon a lot. I get my mileage out of her.
Yeah.
I will probably rewear her like a lot more times. Maybe remake the dress. But I'm definitely getting my miles out of her. And
so is the lesson there kind of to balance your projects between really complicated builds that show a lot but maybe are horrible to wear versus like costumes that are you're still proud of the craftsmanship but are much more comfortable and easy to exist in?
Yeah, there's like a fine line for me because whenever I like go to a convention, I'm like, I want to wear something that's like cool that gets me attention because I'm a cosplayer. People need to know that like I'm a cosplayer, like that I'm one of them. Like they can't
Uh-huh.
think I'm some normal person coming to the con. So I gotta wear something that's like high enough effort, and people are like, "Wow, like you know what you're doing," or like I like your costume. But also like it has to be comfy enough that you can like eat in and like drink water in and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's a fine line.
It's so funny you talked about pulling out that cosplay from Aeicon that was like in tatters that was unwearable because I just pulled out a cosplay the other day that I
Mm-hmm.
had made for San Japan years ago, and it was Owain from Fire Emblem, and I
Mm-hmm.
was convinced that I was gonna wear this on Sunday of Onicon this year because
Mm-hmm.
I've worn that costume once and I felt bad about it because I was like, I hate wearing a costume once, and I don't think I have any costumes in my entire closet at this point that I've only worn once. I have worn,
Mm-hmm.
oh, except for Shadow Weaver. I've only worn Shadow Weaver once, I think. Yeah, I
Break her
know that's a
out.
shame.
Break her out.
But other than that, I don't have any that I've worn once, and I think very adamantly like I need to get mileage out of them. I put so much work and so much time into them that I need to wear them, even if I don't get photos in them every time I wear them. Like I think I should be
Mm-hmm.
wearing them because I'm really proud of them. And there's a balance between integrating your new costumes that you've made into your lineup, into your conventions, versus wearing older costumes. You don't have to make a new costume for every day of every convention. Like
Oh yeah, I don't do
no.
that.
But I pulled out Owain from the closet, fully anticipating on wearing him on Sunday. Mama, when I tell you, I was vindicated in my hatred for sticky back Velcro. That shit had degraded over the years to a point where the goop was sloughing
Oh
off.
my, did you not
And
sew it down or was it you just
no,
stuck
because
it?
with the sticky back, you can't sew through it. It'll gum up your needle and you won't be able to sew anymore. And the thread won't be
You
able to go
can
through and catch the
you can
bobbin
get
properly.
acetone, we'll take it off your needle.
You can, but what you can do instead is not buy the sticky back Velcro. Buy the non sticky back Velcro.
I buy the heavy duty Velcro that's sticky back. I use it for
Buy the
everything.
heavy duty Velcro. Please, God, buy it, but do not buy the glue. The glue doesn't do nothing. You can use
No.
Cosplay stick hot glue. You can use super glue. You could use
I
contact
just sew
cement.
through it. I just sew through it.
That's literally the best thing is to sew through it. I will preach this till the day I fucking am in the grave, bitch. This Velcro. So okay, anyway, this costume, right? So not only is
Anyways.
the sticky from the goo like sloughing off, there are parts of this cosplay that like literally I feel like I'm wearing like a bag on my body. Like it is not fitted. Like I don't know what's going on. Like the leather is like
Mm-hmm.
warping because pleather also degrades over time too.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing else people don't talk about is like pleather over time will start to degrade in a way that like leather won't. And like I know the sustainability of it all and everything, but like even still like no, the costume was not, it was not having it. There were parts that were hot glued. There were like raw things. Like I was like, this can't happen. So I put on Instagram and I was like, does anyone want to take this costume off my hands? You can have it free to a good home with shipping. Not one motherfucker.
Crickets.
Crickets.
Or was like, bitch, no, we don't want your trash.
Literally, they were like, Mama, keep your garbage at home. So I have it in a bag behind me over on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe what I might do to challenge myself is I might try to reconstruct it. No, what am I doing? I'm lying to myself. I need to throw this shit away.
Just throw it. I've thrown a costume away I spent like 6 months on because it degraded in my closet.
Which
That's
one?
Cypher from Valorant. Never got good photos. Had my boyfriend take photos of me in the corner of my place because it was like during COVID.
Oh.
And I threw it all away. I made a second one as a commission for a streamer.
Oh.
But so it lives on.
Well.
It's in a better place. A gamer house.
Oh,
this
I thought
is
you
like
meant the landfill.
No, not the landfill. The one I made for the streamer. I'm sorry, streamer, if you're watching this, you probably aren't, but I delivered because he lives in Dallas, and so I delivered the costume in person. Cause it's like, why would I ship this? I was like, I wanted to check the fitting on it too, because I was like very like particular about that. And I went to his house, and it's like a total gamer house, and he's a pretty big streamer. Like he makes a living off of Twitch. And I remember like, oh, like I would like to be a streamer. Maybe like you always like have in the back of your mind, like, oh, like it would be fun being a Twitch streamer. I went to this gamer house, literally shot that down. I'm like, holy shit, people live like this? Like it's just DoorDash stuff everywhere, like trash. Like the house was not clean. It was like a total like his gaming setup was in the living room, like mattress on the floor. I'm like, dude, you live like this? Like, I never want to be a streamer.
It's
Oh my
that
god.
it's that clip of Nene Leakes going into the house and like, child, the ghetto. Very that.
Yeah, it was a total gamer house and like respect. Like, I hope his living situation's better
No, not
now.
respect. Oh my
But
god.
I respect the grind. Like I remember he's like trying to like get an organization to play. Like he used to like play like on like an org, and he got dropped after like one game. Like I really felt for him, but
Oh,
it's a hard life. Stay in school, kids.
T. Last question. You talked about selling old costumes. So like
Yeah.
I think that I went honestly, most of the costumes I had in my like portfolio are not no longer in my possession at this point. I think like I've sold quite a few because they got to a point where I wore a costume enough where I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm wearing this anymore. Um, so I sold them. But what I will say also to that point is that selling costumes that are more niche and also that are to your body size can be very difficult. Do you find yourself
Mm-hmm.
reselling old or selling old costumes that you've made, or do you find yourself kind of just like shelving them or like donating them, or what do you or repurposing them? All the above.
Mm. So usually I try and sell them. I sold the only costumes I have right now are my MILF Doflamingo, Chamber from Valorant, Wraith, but the samurai armor, Melanoy, Elden Ring. And then like I have like one bot Valorant cosplay that's like in my closet.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else on my page I've sold or like, donated or gotten rid of. Um I sell them on Depop. It took a little bit while for it to get going, but I have enough reviews so people know I'm not like scamming them. And I try and take
Uh-huh.
really good photos, like in my bedroom with natural lighting.
I I didn't use Depop. I've used eBay and Etsy to sell
Okay.
costumes.
Depop is pretty good. I'm usually able to like clear out the niche stuff. It can
Oh.
sometimes take a while, but I've sold like Apex Legends cosplays on Depop, and sometimes if I have the listing, like people in there are like smart too. If I have the listing set up to like $500, they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna PayPal you. We're not going through Depop because they take too much of a cut." I'm like, "Cool." I was gonna message you the same thing if you would have messaged me. Like, let's go through PayPal. Like, you can still have like your buyer protection.
Yeah.
It's just a lot less.
No, that
Um,
makes sense. Have you did you ever participate in the cosplay sale Facebook groups when they existed? I don't know if they still exist.
no, I think I was like a member, but I never sold anything.
I tried. I think I might have sold one or two things in the cosplay sale Facebook groups, but I think that like I don't even know if they still exist anymore or if they're all defunct. I have no idea.
Mm,
I
I have
haven't.
no idea.
I mean, I
I
think I was a
like hate
member,
opening up
but
Facebook. I
yeah,
hate Facebook with a burning passion
I
in my
know.
soul. Um, I just think I'm fine with Meta. Actually, I'm not fine with Meta, but like I'm on Instagram, so it's like whatever. I take that back. But
I'm not
Facebook,
okay with any of it.
something about Facebook really grinds my gears. But I would say try Depop next time.
Okay. I'll look at that. But yeah, I actually after we finish, I might go and see if I can find any of those
You know,
Facebook sale groups because I'm very interested in like what's going
stuff
on
gets
there.
buried a lot. That's the problem. It's like on
Mm,
Depop, you have like your little storefront, and like people are like, "Oh, they have this other cosplay. I'm gonna check and see all their other cosplay stuff." And it's very like front and center. And Facebook, I guess, gets buried because you have like someone else selling like wig number 47. It's like, okay,
mm.
great.
Yeah, or yeah, exactly. Or they'll have like a whole album and it's like so much shit. It's like, okay, we get
Mm-hmm.
it, like move on, or like, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, well thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having
I
me.
love well, I feel like we talked a lot about the 3D printers of it all, but that's also
Yeah.
why I wanted to like nerd out with you a little bit about it. I feel
Yeah.
like we rarely get technical on here. I feel like most of the time we're just like a bullshitting about nonsense, but I do like it
Yeah.
sometimes. And I think that people do actually there are some people that listen that actually appreciate the educational content that is occasionally presented.
I hope they appreciate it. Anyone has 3D printer questions, as long as you're not like asking me a million things, you can DM me on Instagram and I'll respond. Probably with a voice memo because I don't like to type. But
Ooh, personal.
you can, yeah, I like the voice memos. They're so fun. But yeah, if you ever like want to know, like, hey, should I buy this printer? You hit me up on Instagram.
What about those Instagram messages where they go, how you make that?
I don't respond. I changed my inbox to be, oh my god, I got so many. This is a side tangent. I'm sorry, viewers, but I got so many feet DMs from Melanoy. And when I say so many, like 5.
Wait.
And then probably like another like 7 people being ironic about the Melanoy feet. And I was like, I'm always one of those people that's like, I don't really care that much about blocking out my feet in photos.
Me.
I'm like, I feel like when you block out your feet in photos, it's like you're giving the feet people power.
Yes.
You're telling the people that like, oh, like I'm worried about the feet fetish people. Like,
yes.
They're ravenous. I'm like, there can't be that many feet fetish people. Wrong. They're everywhere.
Wait. So you literally, okay, because she's barefoot, right? That's like her character.
Yeah, she's barefoot. That's like part of it. Yeah.
And like they were all coming out of the woodwork and like DMing you. Were they following
were, like, swiping
you,
up.
or they just like?
No, they're like in my followers already. They're just like lurking, I guess, waiting. And sometimes, like, I think one of them messaged me like something, and I was like, "How do you want me to respond to this? Like, what did you think? Like, you got this far. Like, what do you think I would say to this?"
Say that to them?
Like, and he's like, I don't know. Sorry. He's like, I don't know. I'm like, okay. I don't really block them.
So he was like, "Hey, little mama, love those little grippers you have on display." And you were like, "What did you think you were going to achieve by sending this message to me at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, sir?" And he was like, "I don't know."
they fold like lawn chairs. We just have back and forth. I like to have a dialogue. So
are you in voice memos on those as well?
No, I'm not in voice memos. The feet people don't get the voice memos. The 3D printer people, they get the voice memos.
The feet people.
Do you ever just get on Discord? You're like, I have to tell my bestie something, but you're like, I can't type the story, so you just like record it on your phone and send it like a voice memo.
Well, but usually it's not incriminate myself, you know. The Illuminati, the cosplay Illuminati will come for me, like we talked about before.
Gotcha. Yeah,
but no, I'm gonna come to you with the outro. Wait, no, I'm gonna read the outro and then come to you at the end. Okay. God, feet people. All right. Thank you for joining another episode of the Cosplay Crunch. If you would like to submit a question to one of our guests, please email us at cosplaycrunchpod@gmail.com. Please also rate us on your podcasting app of choice, as it does help the show grow. You can also follow the podcast, and that will get notifications when we release episodes. That's helpful. Or you can follow on Instagram at Cosplay Crunch Podcast for the latest news and announcements, and on YouTube at the Cosplay Crunch Podcast. If you want to see us in the flesh, you can see me gagging and screaming and making faces, and you can see Anna literally staring into the abyss after delivering these one-liners.
You see my messy room. What?
You can also go on cosplaycrunch.com if you want to see the archives of everything there as well and read more about the guests. Aeicos, Anna, where can we find you online, and do you have any parting words for our listeners?
You can find me online on most social media at Aeicos. And parting words would be just make your stuff the right way so it doesn't fall apart and you have to throw away hard work.
But if you make stuff the wrong way and it does fall apart, that's also okay.
Yeah, as long as it's a learning experience. I mean, I think, you want to be old and decrepit. You want to like pull out your cosplay and be like, back in my day.
Oh, I know.
And show it off. That's what I want to do. I want to save my stuff. I'm trying to make everything like built to last.
Have you seen the cosplay museum that Yaya put up at Holiday Monster, where she had like 25 years of cosplays?
I think I saw footage.
And like, like, I could not imagine my cosplay from 1999 living. It didn't live. My first cosplay did not live. It's in the dumpster somewhere. Long gone. So
Fallen soldier.
Oh, absolutely. All right. Well, until the next episode, we will see you later. Good evening, good night, and goodbye. Okay,
Bye.
I'll stop it. The Cosplay Crunch podcast is hosted by Savage Cosplay, with post-production also by Savage Cosplay. Original theme music by Katie Fairbanks. Logo and graphic design by Owl and Coffee.